we will open up the floor for questions for Coach. Right here over to the right, Austin Ward, Rivals 97.1.
Ryan, I know it's a four-quarter game, so you do get credit for figuring out Iowa later on, but what did you think about the offensive execution there for, quarter and a half, 2 quarters, especially in the red zone?
Yeah, interesting game when you start off with so many balls and plus territory there. You look at the end of the game, where the score could even been different. But Iowa does a very, very good job up front, and they take away so many things in the middle, and force you to really throw the ball. And we didn't do as good of a job executing running the ball early on, but we knew that it was going to take time to crack. That's just the way they are, and so I thought we played really good football there in the second half. Got a good balance going a little bit, but I mean that kind of goes back to what we're talking about. Is when someone's going to stop one thing, you got to be able to do the other. And I would have liked to definitely execute it better on offense early in the game, but I think the story is about the defense and how well they played. But good to finally pull away there in the second half.
Over to the left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, it looked like Jackson tweaked something there, and then we didn't see him come back in the game. Just any updates you have on his
Yeah, he was on a pitch count today, and then once he got to a certain number there, we decided to shut him down.
Over here to the right, Dylan Davis, Delaware the Gazette.
For an offense that's been humming along like it has, is there something to be said for winning a game like this, where you just kind of had to grind and keep at it, and finally things start opening up? Is there?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's I guess not what we're used to here, but that's the reality of it. And certainly the fact that there was 56 points on the board, a big part of that was the defense today. But when you're playing against a really good defense, a top 10 defense, it's not just going to happen all at once. It's not going to be fireworks every series, but. I give Noah credit. We were able to put points on the board and keep that momentum going, and we felt like our defense was playing well, and we felt like if we had scored, a few of those touchdowns down there in the red zone, it would have been a different first half. But that's okay. A lot to learn from there and grow.
Over to the left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, Ryan, it seemed like Zach Harrison came out with a lot of energy today. Is that something you noticed too? And just what do you make of the way that he played today?
Yeah, I think he was one of a few guys who played with that type of energy. I thought Zach's playing some of his best football right now, and our defensive line, they're playing with an edge. I think you can feel it out there. You can see how fast they're playing. But Zach has really come along. He's practiced really well. I thought his leadership's been good, and I think you guys would agree he's probably playing his best football right now.
Over to the right, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Ryan, you guys had to burn a couple timeouts down in the short red area on offense. Just in those moments, what's happening? Like, what are you seeing? And then when you're on the sideline talking it out, what are those conversations like, and what did you think of the execution coming out of those moments?
Well, I get frustrated with myself first because there's just so many scenarios you try to go through down there, and we had a bunch of at-bats down there, and it's hard. They do an excellent job in the red zone. Historically, they've done a great job. And, you try to get exactly the right call based on the hash, based on where it is. And certainly in the first half, I think sometimes those timeouts are a little overrated because, typically you don't need them as much as you do in the second half. So when you're down in the red zone, if you have the right play, good. If you don't, I think historically we've decided to take timeouts if we didn't feel like we didn't have a really good look there. One in particular, we had a good play up. It wasn't the look we expected. There was a guy coming off the edge, and we knew we had a bad play called, so we got out of it. Another time, we just wanted to think about it a little bit more. Another time, Jackson, I think the ball was on the ground maybe, and there was a pile up on the ground, and they rewound the clock at 25, but it went really fast. And so by the time they got it, we looked up, it was like at 12 seconds, and I just didn't feel like at that time we wanted to run a play that wasn't a good play. And my fault, but I always, in those moments, I know how important those moments are. We know how important those moments are. We always want to get them, in the right call. We work so hard for that, and so mostly I just get frustrated with myself.
Over to the left, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, by his standards, CJ had a so-so first half, and he throws the pick on the first play of the second half. Then he got it together. I think it was 8 straight completions, 4 touchdowns. What clicked for him in the second half?
I think we just had to get into a rhythm on offense, and when you game plan, you pretty much start your mindset on the minus 25, somewhere in there, and then you have plays that you work, and then you kind of get yourself into the red zone. And it was weird because we were kind of in plus territory all day early on. It just never got into a rhythm of just kind of throwing things, and because the field was getting a little compressed. And I think you saw when we had to move the ball down the field, we were a little bit better, and he got into a rhythm that way. That's probably the only way I could describe why that was. But, yeah, I mean, they're very, very good. They get their hands on balls. You know, we had the one sack fumble early on. You know, I mean, but we overcame it, and we kept pushing through. And we know that when we're playing against good defenses, things like that happen. But we can't continue to let those things happen. We got to learn from them and grow. But I think it was healthy for us to get a good challenge today.
Over to the right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, the Iowa offense is what it is, but is there something to be said for your defense to be able to do what good defenses do against an offense like this?
Yeah. I mean, started right from the get-go, and I thought we were aggressive. I thought Jim called a great game, but the guys played well. They ran to the ball, created turnovers, played hard, played physical, and you know, didn't let up the whole game. And I think we had 6 turnovers and at least a couple fourth down stops. So, you know, when we can play like that, it's great. So we've got to learn what we did well and figure out what we need to improve on. And we know we got a big challenge next week going to State College.
Fourth row middle in the left, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, back to Zach for a minute. Here's a kid who's a local kid. He comes in, a lot of pressure, playing in the shadow of the Bosas, Chase. Is this just one of these situations you always talk about, everyone has their own journey? How proud are you of him to get through that, fight through that?
Very. It started with recruiting. Zach was one of the first recruits, you know, for me and Larry. We went into the home, and I'll tell a quick funny story about that. Wasn't sure how it was going to go in recruiting. I just been named the head coach, and Larry and I went into the home, and Tracy and the family were there, and went through the home visit, and I gave him a Buckeye at the end, and I said, "This is a Buckeye. I want you to have this." And he says, looks at me, looks at it. He says, "You know, Buckeyes are poisonous, Coach." And I said, I walked out. I said, "Larry, we ain't getting Zach." And about a week later, Larry comes in. I remember where I was because it was very important for us because Zach was highly recruited. He was a local kid, Olentangy Orange, obviously a tremendous talent and a great culture fit for us. And Larry walks in. He says, "Zach's going to be a Buckeye." He got him on the phone, and he committed, and that was a big deal for us. And you know, he came in highly recruited. But you know, when you look at Zach, he's got long levers. You know, he's really tall, and he's had to grow into the position and grow into his body, and that doesn't just happen. It takes time. And I know everybody wants him to come in and you know, be an All-American as a freshman, but everybody, like you said, has their own journey, and he's been on that journey. And I think he's made a lot of sacrifices. He's worked through some tough times, and you're seeing the best version of him right now.
We're going to go just a few more because we got players starting to come up over here to the right. Justin Holbrook, WCMH.
What did you see from Jordan Hancock, his first game back, especially with Cam Brown out today?
Yeah, I saw a good week of practice, and then made a few plays, and he does a really good job of playing the ball, and excited to get that game under his belt so that we can build on that moving forward.
Over to the left, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, you mentioned calling some timeouts in the red zone. I mean, you guys have been really good in the red zone all year. When you look at this game, do you look at it as like, hey, we still scored even though we kicked those field goals, or do you look at it like we need to turn those field goals into touchdowns even though we're scoring?
Touchdowns. That's it. That's all we focus on. Now, when we can get field goals, certainly we need to get points, and those are important to get. But, yeah, I'm going to wish we had calls back. We're going to wish we had plays back. But the number one goal is to score touchdowns in a red zone. That's a huge part of our plan to win. We've been good in that in the past, not as good today.
Over to the right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Multiple choice. Tommy Eichenberg, he's been a great tackler today. He's a pass catcher. Mm-hmm. Do you need more from the running game as you go forward? That was a concern late in the year last year. How about the run game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll have to look and see what we did well, but what we need to improve on, and where we need to, tighten up, and kind of evaluate it from there. Certainly the numbers don't look great, but there were some good things, and I think there was a sack, right? So, I mean, that may have affected that, on the fumble. So, again, we'll look at it, assess it, and figure out where it's at. But, we want to be balanced.
But are you not concerned because of so much talent in the receiving corps?
I don't know if concern is the right thing, but, we're going to have to go back and figure out how we run the ball better. That's for sure. And figure out how we're going to do that. But that's every week. If I have to throw the ball better, let's figure out how to, score points in a red zone better. That's every week. But to say I'm concerned, I wouldn't say that. But we're going to need better play moving forward.
Over to the left, last one on the left, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan,
you touched on some of the turnovers. Early in the year, you guys weren't getting those. You've now gotten them pretty consecutively, and then obviously the big breakout today. How important is to have that start rolling as you get into this late stretch of the season here?
Yeah, it's very important. And like you said, the challenges are going to get bigger and bigger. And so, we need, we need balance across the board. We need complementary football. We need special teams. We need everything. We need all of the above. But again, this is a very good team coming in here. They played a team up north really well. It was 20-7 in the fourth quarter. They played Illinois really well. They had the fumble return to go win the game. They called it back, and Illinois kicks the field goal to win the game. Illinois, had a really good year. They played some good teams, and we had a lot of respect for this team coming in, and they played well, especially on defense. And so for us to win like this, it's good, but there's still a lot to improve on and a lot to grow from, like you said.
Last two for Coach. We're going to go Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com, and then Tim May, Letterman Row on 3.
I just wanted to clarify, Jackson came out of the game, it seemed like he was really stretching that leg out. He was talking to medical personnel. So that route was going to be his last route that he ran today. I just wanted to clarify that. And can you talk about, I guess, just were you able to evaluate him enough today as to what you saw from him, how he moved, that sort of thing?
I think so. Yeah, I think we'll be able to evaluate it. We'll watch the film and see. But we had about 20 plays. I think he was right in that range. And once he got to that number and that drive, that was it.
Right. What is it like to have an offense at your disposal that you're trying to crack that safe first half? And I know you call plays you think are going to work.
Right.
Some they don't. But you have this passing game that just revved up in the second half. What is it like calling plays for an offense like this if you follow my drift? Because Iowa impressed me as much on defense today as they have all year.
That's right.
Y'all scored 54. Go ahead.
Well, Tommy scored one of those, so we'll give Tommy credit for that one. But no, I think it all went to the defense and the way the defense put the offense in a great position to score. But it was a strange game that way because there were so many turnovers and we were plus territory, just didn't finish the drives. But I don't know how many times we punted. Looked like we punted 3 times. One was at the end, so. Kind of strange, when you look at it. We didn't have a lot of drives that started like on the 20-yard line and we moved them across the field. But to answer your question, we have great weapons. We have to continue to figure out ways to find that balance. We got to continue to practice well so that we can execute well because these plays and these matchup games are going to become more and more important. And so the margin for error is going to be tinier and tiny.
But you always feel there's something on that sheet that's going to work eventually. Is that the way you personally go into a game like this? That something on that play sheet's going to work?
Well, I think, it's like if they're taking this away, then they probably are giving up something here. And they certainly were doing a great job stopping the run. So typically, they have to give up something on the perimeter. And I think we found that there in the third, fourth quarter.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to bring in CJ Stroud at the main podium. I'm going to put at the back tables Tanner McAllister, Emeka Abuka, Zach Harrison. And that's it for now. And after a few minutes with CJ, we're going to go kind of quick with him. I'm going to bring in Coach Knowles at the main podium as well. If you guys can grab a table in the back. It's going to be quick.
Nah, you good.
Okay. We'll open up questions for CJ, front row, Tim May, Letterman row on 3.
CJ, it seemed like a rough start for you guys offensively from a continuity standpoint, but once you got it going. The seam route to Emeka really kind of turned it on. Just what's your recollection of all that? And when you got hot, what did it feel like out there?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to give all glory and praise to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It's amazing just to see our fans coming out in all red and just having fun out there. My brothers playing in front of 104,000 is a blessing, so I just got to start with that. But, the first half was kind of weird. I mean, it's tough starting with the ball at like the 30, 40, you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to build a rhythm right there. First half, we just got to execute better. It's good to get that under our belt, though, man, because, the second half of the season is very tough. And you can have games like that where you're not really clicking early on, and you got to get it going. So once we got it going, I feel like we became the dynamic offense that we know.
Was there a sense of electricity from that point on from you?
I mean, it just felt like we were back, you know what I'm saying? We got our little swagger back and felt like we were just clicking again. So, you only take 3-4 bad plays out of the first half, and then my interception, which I count as a bad play. you take those plays away. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we had a decent day. Iowa's defense is really good, though.
Over to the left, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hey, CJ. How good will it be down the stretch for you to have faced a defense like Iowa's?
It's good, especially coming off a bye week. It's hard to go against a veteran defense straight out of a bye. Just getting your rust, getting that rust off from that rest that you get, and then not playing in a week and a half is kind of tough. So it felt good to be back out there again, and we got a lot of good looks from them on them playing physical. And I think up front they did a really good job. Of course, we got to clean some things up on every single part, on my part and my O-line and things like that. So once we do that, man, I feel like we'll be just fine.
Over here to the right, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
I'd asked you earlier in the week about just kind of what you expected from Iowa's coverages today. What did you end up seeing? Was it different than what you had expected, different than you had seen before, and how difficult were they to read today?
No, they were running a lot of the things that we thought they were, a little more one high, a little more cover three. But we kind of watched them against a couple other teams that threw the ball a lot, and that's what they were doing. So we anticipated that, and I mean, we were just off a little bit. It wasn't like they were controlling us. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we have a offense to where we can run the ball dynamically and throw the ball. So if we can just get that going better, but like I said, it's tough starting from the plus territory in our terms. So just getting that rhythm, trying to get that first completion is kind of hard because it's so tight down there, you know what I mean? So, and they did a good job. Veteran D-line, veteran linebackers, DBs did a good job about keeping everything in front of them early on. And once we kind of broke their zones and started stretching them out more, we started playing better.
Over to the left, Bill Landis, Rivals.
CJ, in the course of a game, as you guys are trying to feel out the defense and figure out what's going to work and what's not, how much back and forth is there with players and coaches between drives, during timeouts? Just like what's the process like of finding those answers for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we Coach Days ask us what we see out there, what kind of leverage the receivers are getting and with the corners, the safeties, how they're playing. He's asking me what I thought I seen and things like that. So, I mean, it's constant communication just because we can help them and they can help us. So, we're a team at the end of the day, and I definitely think that, I mean, it's a recipe for success.
Over to the right here, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Yeah, CJ, the ball you threw to Fleming, is that as good as it gets right there in terms of pinpointing the space it had to get into? And is he, I know you don't rate the receivers, but he came here with as much, acclaim as anybody, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, his hard work, I spoke on it before, and his hard work that he's put in, man, the sacrifice he's made to cut off distractions in his life and things like that, I mean, it just shows you that it pays off in the long run. And I'm super proud of him, man. He ran a great route on that, a big boy post, and I tried to just give him a chance and let him go get it. So I definitely think that's high execution right there, and we got to bottle that up and do that again. Yeah, I'm super proud of him. Marvin played his ass off. Of course, Mecca did as well. Cade, our tight ends. Mitch had a touchdown. Super happy for him. Running backs did well. But my O-line did well ultimately. And we gotta just execute better on little things. So once we get that done, I think we'll play a lot better. Nah. I would never tell y'all the name of our play. That's just not smart.
Final two questions over here for CJ. Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
That pick to start the second half, was there a little bit of frustration there? Was that something you tried to force, trying to make something happen there? I guess what did you see on that play, or what didn't you see on that play?
Yeah, I mean, the look that we had the throw. It wasn't supposed to necessarily go to Julian. I got a little pressure, and I couldn't step into the throw I wanted to make. So I went to my second read, and it just – he came in there. Julian did his job by coming in so far, but I got to remember that it's coverage back there, that there's nothing holding him. There's no routes over there, you know what I mean? So I got to just take an L and take the sack or get a couple yards rushing. So, I mean, that's me. I just try to make a play happen, you know what I'm saying? And Coach Day and my brothers, they don't ever look at me and second-guess me because they know right when we got the ball back again, I mean, we went down there and had about 4 dynamic plays. So it's all about this next play and not thinking about the pass.
And final question, Jeremy Birmingham, Rivals.
CJ, do you think that you've earned the right to have super weird, unfair expectations? I mean, it seems like most quarterbacks in the country, if they complete 67% of the passes, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, people would be saying, "Oh, great game." But it seems like for you, the expectations are so high. Is that because Do you have that same expectation higher for yourself? I mean,
I don't have any expectations. I'm here to win, and that's for the fans. You know what I'm saying? That's like for the supporters. That's for them to marry up and think about all the crazy things that we're supposed to do. This is football, man. Like, Iowa is not coming in here to play, like, to give us anything. We got to go take it. So, and I think I told y'all that earlier in the week, is like they're not just gonna back up and just give us what we want with like short passes. They're gonna challenge us, and that's what they did. So, credit to them, but credit to our defense as well, man. Like, our defense, they played their butts off, and I'm super happy for every single one of them. And I don't really, like I said, I don't have any expectations though. I'm here to win games, and if that means that I don't hold up to what everybody else think, then so be it. But I think I played well. You take away 2 bad throws and maybe 3, and everybody's gonna be different. You know what I'm saying? So you can't ride the highs, you can't ride the lows. You gotta stay steady head and listen to what's in your huddle. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what I'm on.
Great, CJ. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, folks, we're gonna bring in Coach Knowles here at the main podium, and I'm gonna send Tommy Eichenberg to the open table in the back. And we will open up the floor here for Coach Knowles. Griffin, raise your hand if you don't mind. Yep, right there. Griffin Strom, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, Coach, the impact of just so many big plays, obviously the 6 turnovers, turning them over on downs as well a few times, I think 5 or 6 sacks, something like that. How much did the defense feed off of those huge plays, especially the first snap of the game for them being that interception by Tanner?
You know, we've just been trained. We had a great week of practice. You know, I thought the guys were fresh, they were fast and opportunistic, and you know, we've been training for this, and that's what I tell them. You know, it's one series at a time, and you know, we expect these good things to happen by the way we've trained and we played, and I think and I know it has a great effect on the whole team. You know, and everybody feels confident when the defense is playing well, and the turnovers, you know, they help a lot. You know, in terms of field position and in winning the ball game.
Over here to the right, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Zach Harrison's a guy who has, throughout his career, really performed a pretty high baseline of success, if not necessarily that like elite play, however you want to define that. How have you seen him progress over just the time you've been here? Because it seems like he is starting to trend towards something better.
Yeah, from the first time I got to be around Zach, I mean, I knew that in my mind he was an elite player. I mean, he has great speed, you know, tremendous you know, arm length and the ability to lock out blockers, and his pass rush is really, he has some distinct moves that he uses, you know. So I did not look much at last year when I got here, and really just tried to get a feel for the guys as they were. And Zach has been performing, you know, every week on tape, you know, so it's good to see him, you know, starting to get more make more plays and get the recognition, but I think he's elite.
Over here to the right, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Jim. Obviously, Iowa's offense has struggled, but what did you see today that is most encouraging? What did you like the most from what you saw today?
You know, I liked, again, it continues to me to be our run fits, right? The ability to stop the run comes first. Until that last play with the twos, I thought all of our fits were strong. You know, we're in the right place. We're able to do some things with multiplicity, and guys understand, they know where the ball's going to go, and they show up. So it starts there with the run fits to me. And then I thought some of our disguises were better. You know, some of our reads on routes, you know, as you saw, that resulted in interceptions. So I like the way our back end is getting a feel for the different coverages that we implement.
Over to the right, Austin Ward, Rivals, 97.1 The Fan.
Jim, you've been there for all of Tanner's development. At what point in his career did you feel like more often than not he would be in the right spot like he seemed to be today for a couple key ones?
Yeah, he's always been a very heads-up player, always very coachable in terms of understanding the game plan and the scheme we're going to face. But, you know, I saw him really take off last year in terms of playing with the confidence, because it takes a lot of confidence to do some of the things that he does. And then the fact that he came here just showed me he wanted to even elevate his game even more. And, and it's great to see him making plays. He understands the scheme, and he knows what to do, and he's talented.
Second row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, what did you make of your corners today? You got Jordan Hancock back for the first time. Cam Brown didn't start. J.K. got the start in his, or Cam was out. J.K. started in his place. But what did you think of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, they looked fine to me. I don't think we got tested very often on the edges or downfield, but they were competing the whole game, and I just think it's good to get Jordan back in. He was really on a pitch count type of thing, where we didn't want to get him too many reps as we bring him back. But I think he changes things and just adds to the competition and gives us a lot more depth. And I think the other guys play a lot freer too when he's around.
Over here to the right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Jim, you guys weren't playing the best offense in the country, but it seems like you guys took care of business, only gave up 3 points. Is there something to be said for a defense to be able to take care of business when you know the opponent doesn't have the best offense? And do you feel like you guys did that today?
Yeah, we don't discriminate. It's whoever you're going up against, that's who you have to stop. So it is definitely a mentality that I've been preaching to the guys, and they're buying in. It doesn't matter what the score is, who we're playing. Are we going to operate with the mentality of going out there and stopping them every time? So, if we're playing with that kind of mentality, and their offense is struggling, you see us rise up. And the time's going to come when we're going to need that mentality when the game is close.
Over here to the right, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Jim, I apologize if you've been asked this, but it seemed like you played 3 linebackers at times, maybe a little more today than you did in the past. Just thoughts on why that was, and then how you thought Cody Simon played as that third linebacker for you guys.
Yeah, I thought Cody did very well. We've been planning for this. We have to morph the defense when it gets into big personnel and multiple tight ends and fullbacks. And, Cody is the guy. He's earned that right by how he's practiced. It was good to see him get a significant role because I think he can add a lot to the defense when we face those kind of teams.
And final questions for Coach Knowles, front row right here, Tim May, Letterman Row on 3.
Hey, Coach Knowles, how good do you feel for Tanner McAllister? He follows you from Oklahoma State to here. Obviously, 2 picks today, huge, et cetera. And just, is there a sense also that this defense has sort of developed that identity you want? I mean, he was talking about that a little bit a while ago, that you come in against a team like this, you got to shut them down because everybody else has, so to speak. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, Tanner's like a son to me. These guys, you become very close to these guys. So to see him, one, take the challenge, right? There's nothing easy about coming to the Ohio State and him, earning and proving himself all over again. And, it's always good to see someone succeed who you care about, and who's put himself on the line. And he's invested a lot in me by coming here. Yeah, and like you said, the identity, the mentality of getting stops, third down, not giving up explosive plays, getting negative yardage plays, being aggressive. I mean, I think we saw that take a step today. I'm hopeful in terms of the defense continuing to dictate the terms of the game. That's the mentality that we want to have.
Great. Coach, thank you very much. You betcha. Thank you. And we're going to start to wrap up in the back there, folks.